Hey everyone, this is Jen and you're watching BPD Woman. In today's short video, I want to talk to you about how to take people's word at face value. It can be very difficult, especially with a black and white mind and cognitive distorted thinking. And when you have a high mistrust of others, which hello, I often do, then how can you really take people at their word? I'm going to talk to you about some patterns to identify, how to regulate the mind, and how to radically accept the things and let them go. Let's get going. If you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe. I offer positive solution-based approaches to recovery for those of you living with BPD, CPTSD, or those of you who are highly sensitive or find that you have trouble regulating your emotions in an effective way. I was diagnosed with BPD over 20 years ago, and since that time, I have dedicated at least a half dozen courses to DBT, in-person therapy, group therapy, research, bibliographical therapy, videos. You get it. I'm really committed. And while I am not a therapist or a psychologist, I can answer one very important question that those folks cannot, which is, what's it like to have BPD? And in doing so, I can celebrate with you the nuances of how to really use the tactics and tools that you learn in therapy and in DBT and in other recovery modalities to apply them to real life. And that's what I want to do today. So let's get going. It's very hard to take people at their word, right? If you have a high mistrust, and of course you grew up with people that were supposed to be those that you could trust inherently, without question, and they let you down, right? Or they abused you, or they beat you, or they grew you up in some other kind of traumatic environment which had you all flip-flop, crisscrossed, you didn't know which way was up. And so not only do you not trust yourself and your own perceptions, right? All of those years of invalidation, you also find it hard to trust other people and to take things at face value. And you either fall into one of two categories. I trust you implicitly, or I don't trust you whatsoever. And it can be very hard to find a happy middle, right? How do you know when you can trust someone? How do you know if somebody is taking, the piss out of you? How do you know if, stop it. How do you know if someone is telling the truth, right? How can they be trusted? So we're going to look for some patterns. That's the first thing. And of course, as always, I want to steer you into the gray thinking, right? The gray zone thinking. Now, a black and white perception would be something that's either like, yes, I trust you implicitly, or no, you've done me wrong. I can never trust you again. But on the flip side of that is that you go in the opposite direction, right? Which is that I trust you with everything. I can trust you no matter what you say, even if the red flags are blowing in my face. And this is something that I had a lot of trouble with, trying to get to that middle. And, something that somebody pointed out to me is that, oftentimes I gave people way too much upfront trust than they had built credit for, right? So a bank's not going to give you a big loan if you don't have a history of a good credit score, right? If you don't have, the money in the bank, if you don't have a good FICO, if you don't have a history of on-time payments, then they're going to be a little bit more reluctant to give you that loan. And I'd like you to think about trust that way, right? People have to earn your trust. They make little deposits into your trust bank account, right? So, and of course, you're going to have some situations where you know somebody only a very short amount of time, and you're going to have to, ask yourself, is what they're telling me, is me, hammering it over and over in my mind really worth it since I don't really know them that well? And you might think of it differently with somebody else who you've known many, many years or decades or even months, somebody who knows you well. You may give them a little bit more face value. So a couple things here to think about. One, learning to be sitting in the ambiguity of it all. Ambiguity is tough because we don't know. We want the outcome. We want to know. We grew up not knowing where we were going next. And so the other thing to think about is black and white thinking, right? That you don't want to go all in the black, you don't want to go all in the white. So you want to stay in that gray zone thinking. The other thing to think about here is to not act on impulse, right? So those are the three things that I talk a lot about. Not acting on impulse, sitting in the gray zone, and being careful not to go into your black and white thinking. So I want to tell you about an experience that, excuse me, I have an itch. I want to tell you about an experience that that happened to me over the last few days, okay? So I like to give you these experiences that happen to me, and thank you to user subscriber Google who keeps telling me that these are helpful. I'm glad. So here's another one. So I've had several clients, not several, 2 out of 10 or 12, not pay me on time and recently just become very uncommunicative, just kind of drop off. And I got very paranoid about it. Like, did I do something wrong? I started Googling my own name. I started Googling my business. Like, where could I find out more information about why these people may not be paying me or they don't want me anymore? The only logical conclusion that I could think of was that I was a piece of shit, and so they must not like me and they don't want to hire me. And then I catastrophized, right? And so you can listen to my video on paranoia that I recently put out, so check that out. It's been a very popular video. And then I've also done a video about cognitive distortions, and they kind of really play into each other. And so I was already kind of on edge, right? A little bit emotionally dysregulated, a bit revved up about, hey, what's been going on? Why are these people kind of ghosting me? I've also done a video on ghosting. I'll throw up a link up there. And so I'm already like on the lookout for people that are not going to find a reason to hire me. And so I had a really great meet and greet with some referrals of a long-term client who, just said great things about me. And they're like, oh, our friends have said nothing but great things about you. I met them, and, they have a pretty kind of high energy, reactive dog. But they wanted me to like do some drop-in visits while they went traveling, and they were maybe going to take the dog, but maybe not going to take the dog in any case. So I spent probably a good 2 hours with them at their house on Friday for this meet and greet. And, okay, everything's going to be, it was great. I texted my, the clients that referred them. Oh, we had this great meeting, etc. So I don't hear anything Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So today, Tuesday, I sent a text saying, hey, following up, are you thinking any more about a schedule for Christmas time, or these other drop-in visits that I could do in a lead up? And the husband wrote back. It was on a group text, and he's like, hey, things have changed. We are not going to do the drop-in visits, and we're not going to have the booking for Christmas. So this was all very much a huge about face. And I was like, okay. So I texted back. I was like, all right, was it anything I said or that I did? Because if so, I would really like to know. That's all I said. Okay. And he replied pretty quickly back. He's like, no, it's not about you. Just some things have changed, and I would really rather not go into detail about them right now, but it had nothing to do with you. And then, a few moments later, the wife responded, and she's like, Jen, just to double back on what he just said, this is the wife now, you are amazing. We will refer you to our other friends. We really appreciate meeting you, So first of all, let's break this down. I waited an appropriate amount of time to reach back out to them to see if they were going to follow up, right? So all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday. And then on Tuesday, I reached back out. So then when he did a very, surprising turn of face, I simply asked, why, and is it anything I did? Perfectly reasonable questions, right? They weren't panicky. They were appropriate questions, right? Very short. Now, even though I've had this revved up sort of panicky, turn of events lately where I think clients don't want me and that people must be out to get me or they're saying shit about me online, I had to take what they said at face value. And here's a few things that tuned me in that I could trust what they were saying. For one, They didn't have to reply to me at all. They could have ghosted me. They could have totally avoided a confrontation. 2, they endorsed me, right? The wife didn't have to pipe in and said it wasn't anything to do with me. She certainly definitely didn't need to say that she would refer me to her friends. 3, it felt right in my gut. I can't explain that. Your body will let you know certain things. You know, I felt settled. I thought, okay, I'm not sure what's happened in the last 3 days. Maybe the dog bit somebody. Maybe, you know, maybe they don't have the money now. Maybe they have another expense. Maybe they're having issues with the people that they were supposed to go see and now they're not traveling. It could be a lot of different things. I didn't push because it's not my place to do so. They just didn't have to be as reassuring to me as they were. And if they were acting, then they were doing a hell of a great job. So I have to take something like that at face value. Okay, this is what they say. I have no reason for them to think anything different than good things about me. I've already been referred on to them by their friends, who they're best friends with, right? They've already said all these positive things. So right there, you have to leave it at that. Okay, I have to take it at face value. No more follow-up questions, no more follow-up texts, no more wondering. I got to turn that part of my brain off and move on. And then later today, I had one new client and a current client text me for, actually 2 current clients text me for another booking, right? And so we're all on the calendar. So that also took some fear and worry and kind of validated me that, okay, I am good at what I do, right? People aren't reading bad things about me. I don't have one bad review anywhere online that I could ever discern. So I have to sit with the ambiguity. You have to take them at face value, right? Now, when to not take them at face value? Again, you're looking for patterns, right? If I trust what they say right now, but if later, you know, I'm talking to the client that referred them to me, and they say, yeah, you know, our friend said that, you know, you said this and that really turned them off and they didn't want to hire you. Okay, well, then that would be, all right, that's time for me to reassess. Again, I don't know these people that well. I've met them one time in my entire life. They're not interested in pursuing. So you leave it at that. It's not a big, it's a nothing burger. You don't have to go any further than that. You look for patterns of behavior, you know. In a lot of the friendship videos that I've done, I've talked about reliability. Hi, sweetheart. I've talked about reliability, right? If somebody says they're your friend, but then they they ghost you, or they always cancel plans, you know, or you only hear from them when they need something, right? Oh, can you walk my dog? Can you do this, right? If they gossip about other people, these are patterns of behavior that you don't have to take something oppositional to what that behavior presents as face value. Meaning, you don't have to take at face value that they're a good friend and they say, oh yeah, we're good friends. But then they do all of this other stuff in opposition to that. Not calling you back, always canceling plans, always kind of reaching out to you when they need something. And finally, it's the ambiguity of sitting with it, right? So you've waited out, you've looked for patterns, you've sat steady in the boat. Now you just have to be okay with the ambiguity about it, you know? And worrying doesn't get you anywhere. I've done a big video about worrying. Worrying doesn't get you anywhere, right? It's taking that at face value that, okay, this is what it is, and I have to radically accept it. And radical acceptance is a part of the mindfulness module in DBT, and you can check that out. I also have a DBT playlist. And you have to really tune in to patterns and sitting with that ambiguity, right? Am I going to think any more about these folks that we had a great meet and greet, now they don't want me? Am I going to think about that anymore? No, I'm on to the next, right? You can't sit there, you can't focus on it, you can't wallow, even though the urge to do so may be strong. And it gets easier with time, learning how to like redirect your energy somewhere else. My name's Jen. You've been watching BPD Woman. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. And until I see you next time, please be effective. Bye.